Good morning again, folks. I want to talk to you about two different things today. I want to talk about wisdom and love. I was looking in Proverbs this last week and I ran across some scriptures about wisdom, and I want to share them with you. We all know that wisdom is knowledge applied rightly, is really what wisdom is. We can be smart as smart can be, but if we don't know how to interpret that, then we can get into trouble. But wisdom, in Proverbs chapter 4, Solomon says this: wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all you're getting, get understanding. Then we look at Proverbs chapter 8. That's an interesting chapter. It's a chapter that wisdom speaks to us. It just seems as if God allows the idea of wisdom to just take a life of its own and say things to us like this. Verse 17, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. We go a little further in this chapter and look at verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. Verse 35 says this: for whosoever finds me finds life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. Then he tells us how important wisdom is in chapter 9. One last time he speaks of it in verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Wisdom, we need it today in our life. We need to be able to translate and look at things in different ways and know that God is working in our lives, and we need to use wisdom in our dealings with people, show them the love of God, show them the grace of God. And that brings me to my next thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was love. And that I went to 1 John 4. 1 John defines love in chapter 4 and verse 7. It defines love like this: God is love. Actually, that's chapter 4 verse 8 instead of verse 7. And that's the definition of love. God is love. Just that simple. As we look on through it, he gives us great comfort, for he says this in verse 18 of this same chapter: there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has torment, and he that fears is not made perfect in love. We love him, verse 19 says, because he first loved us. We go a little further and we look at chapter 5 and talking about his love. Verse 2 says, by this we know the love of the children of God, when we love God and keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And then listen, and his commandments are not grievous. God is so patient and kind and loving to us that his commandments aren't grievous. When we love him, we want to do and we want to follow him, and we want to hold fast to the things that he's given us. His commandments are not grievous. For whatsoever is born of God, the next verse says, overcomes the world. And this is the victory that overcomes the world, even our faith. As we hold fast to the faith that God has given us, we can live in wisdom, in love, in victory, and know his graciousness, and know his love, and know this, finally, in verse 14, and this is the confidence that we have in him. that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. God is ever listening. God is ever watching. God's wanting to love His people with everything that He has and give you the desires of your heart when they fall into the will of God. Knowing this, that if we keep His commandments, knowing this, we have the confidence by faith that what we ask, He hears. His ear is not deaf. His eye is not blind. He's watching over you, and He's loving you today. Wisdom and love, those two things are essential in our walk with Christ. And as we apply His word rightly, using the wisdom He's given us, we know the love of God is deeper and wider and greater than anything that man could ever know. For God is love. God bless you, folks. We'll talk to you again next time.